It's just turned. Good evening, councillors and members of the public, officers. I declare this meeting open, and it's nice to be back. Just record my appreciation to Councillor Kelly for his fine efforts as acting mayor during my absence. So thank you very much to you, Councillor Kelly. Councillor Warnock is an apology for tonight. Declarations of interest. We have Councillor McCleary's declaration of interest. Are there any further declarations, councillors? Thank you. We have no questions. 711, someone move the minutes of the last meeting. Thank you, Councillor Cook. Seconded, Councillor Hayward. All in favour? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. The two advisory committees, someone move the receipt of those. Councillor McGuinness, Councillor McCleary, all in favour? That's carried unanimously, thank you. Are there any petitions? Councillors, we have requests for presentations from tonight on 10.4.1, Calibre Consulting. I think Ms. Hope, Canilla Hope, wishes to address council on that item. Those who approve that, please indicate. Thank you, that's approved. And on item 10.4.2, Fiona Davison wishes to speak on that matter. Those who support that, please indicate. That's agreed to. So to Canilla Hope and Fiona Davison, when we get to your items, I'll invite you up to speak for 5 minutes. Great. (8.41), so we move Councillor Cook's report. Councillor McCleary, Councillor Giles, all in favour. That's carried unanimously, thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Cook. Method of dealing with tonight's agenda, councillors, for discussion 10.11, 10.12, 13, 14, 4.1 and 4.2. Are there any others? Someone prepared to move? They be Councillor Cook moves, Councillor Jones seconds. All in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much. 10.11, councillors, in one of the recommendations, recommendation 3, I think it's inappropriate to name those young people, and I've asked the CEO to put up an amended recommendation just with deleting those names. I'm sure you'll all be comfortable with that. Can someone move the committee recommendation with the removal of those names? Councillor Cook, Councillor McGuinness, all in favour? Councillor Jones. Sorry, Councillor Jones. These, can I blame my new glasses? No. Liz, would you put Councillor Jones? Thank you. We need an absolute majority for 10.12. Someone move that. Councillor Kelly. Second it. I'll take my glasses off. Second it. Councillor McCleary. All in favour? It's carried by an absolute majority. Thank you. 10.13. I'm happy to consider the executive recommendation. Councillor Kelly. Councillor Giles. All in favour? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. Now, councillors, I believe this matter has been resolved, but I'm happy to receive a mover on the executive recommendation. Councillor Kelly, Councillor Cook, all in. Please, yeah, move Councillor Kelly, second to Councillor Cook. Councillor Kelly.
Just a heads up as to the consultation from whoever.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly. Councillor Cook, you might like to add to that?
Yes, in fact, I'd like to welcome on your behalf, Mr Mayor, the family, the Scott family here tonight. The consultation were extensive, Deputy Mayor, and included 2 meetings that I attended, and the family is in favour of the move.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councillor Zonten, putting it all in favour. Those again, that's carried unanimously. So I really appreciate the cooperation that was done between the Scott family, the RSL and the City Council. Well done, good outcome. And I want to know why Mr Murray Scott's not present. I have to talk to him later. Okay, 10.4.1. Canilla Hope. 5 minutes, Canilla, welcome along.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and Councillors, for the opportunity to present to you this evening. I'm a town planner with Calibre Consulting, and I've been engaged by Gary Holland from HMA Architects, the applicant in this matter, and also Frank and Pauline Fiore, the owners of the Mangles Deli, to represent them. They're all here with me tonight, and of course very eager to learn the outcome of your decision. Firstly, we'd like to say thank you for the general support councillors gave to this matter at the briefing session last week. This application was lodged back in May, nearly 6 months ago, and after a lot of expense, time and uncertainty, Frank and Pauline were reassured by your encouragement. Since the briefing session, we've met with John Cowell and Matthew Wansborough, and we thank them for that. Whilst it's come very late in the process, we're really pleased that we've now reached agreement with these officers that the DA to refurbish the Mangles Deli, including the drive-through, should be approved. As most of you know, Frank and Pauline have operated the Mangles Deli for the last 30 years. Over those 30 years, the Mangles Deli has well and truly established itself within the South Bunbury community, and it's synonymous with this stretch of Minnenut Road. The Mangles Deli is a well-known and popular business that provides convenience products as well as a variety and volume of takeaway fast food to its customers. It opens very early in the morning until late at night, 7 days a week, and they employ around 25 people. After all this time, however, the deli building is getting pretty tired, the internal layout's inefficient, and it also lacks a Grade 1 commercial kitchen. This DA before you is about Frank and Pauline refurbishing and updating their business so that they can keep it open, viable, and also competitive into the future. In terms of the alternative recommendation, which we understand has been circulated to you all, which you'll be deciding upon this evening, is that we fully support it and we accept most of the conditions proposed, aside from Condition 2 and Condition 4. The main sticking point is with Condition 2, which is the design of the drive-through. There's 2 options before you in this regard. The one recommended by officers is for a curved, slightly longer driveway that runs along the neighbour's fence at 2 Mossop Street, and this accommodates around 3 extra cars within the queuing section. Our preferred design, however, is Plan 3B attached to your report, which is where the driveway has a much straighter alignment, which runs along the extended deli building, which is placed the furthest away from that neighbour at 2 Mossop Street. We don't agree with officers that there's any reasonable basis to require the drive-through to be longer to accommodate extra queued vehicles. At the request of officers, we've fully explored this option and we've also obtained an independent traffic evaluation. Importantly, predicted peak traffic modelling based on wait time and likely customer volume demonstrates that the extra length is just not needed. And in fact, even in the worst case scenario of lots of cars and an extra long wait time, it's just not required. There's clear sight lines in Mossop Street and a generous road reserve. There's also ample on and off street parking beside the deli. So if the drive-through was to become blocked or congested, that there's another option for customers. In addition to that, the deli's most affected neighbour also prefers the straighter design. They don't object at all to this proposal. In fact, they're very supportive of it. They just prefer, like us, the straighter design of the drive-through. Aside from this, I also make the point that the Mangles Deli is not really comparable to Sandridge Road or indeed the Fuller Beans. Both drive-thrus sell coffee and a selection of pre-packaged food, but that's where the similarities end. Sandridge Road is a dual-lane arterial road that carries up to around 20,000 vehicles per day. Fuller Beans is positioned to draw from this passing traffic. Minnenut Road carries around a quarter of this volume of passing traffic, and Mossop Street, where the entry to the drive-through is proposed, significantly less again. The main traffic generator in Mossop Street, aside from the residents, has always been the deli. The addition of the drive-through is really an extension of the existing fast food business, and it's not expected to significantly change the traffic behaviour here, but rather provide an alternative option to existing customers. Finally, I also point out that this is not a Muzbuzz franchise or indeed any other major high-volume fast food chain. Our second query...
Ms Hope, can you just wrap up,
Sure
please?
can. I'm right there. Our second query is with condition 4. We ask that that be deleted or made a note. Activity centre structure plans are just not required to this scale. In conclusion, we seek your support, councillors, to approve this application, and in approving we ask for condition 2 to be amended to reference plan 3B, not plan 3A, and for condition 4 to be either deleted or made a note. Thank you very much.
Councillors, we have before us an executive recommendation and an alternative executive recommendation. My understanding is that the alternative has been worked up through consultation between the planning officers and the applicants, and I'm prepared to accept or consider either one. So can I invite a mover of either the executive or alternative? Councillor Kelly.
Mr Mayor, I'll move the alternative executive recommendation and then propose 2 amendments at the same time.
Okay, is there a seconder to that? Councillor Cook. Councillor Kelly.
Yes, firstly, the amendments, Mr Mayor. I propose to ask that the number 2, Appendix DPDRS 3B, so there's a simple addition of B into Part 2, and that, as per the request, we take 4 out, renumber the others, Mr Mayor, and retain number 4 as an advice note. And that is a proposed amendment, if I can do it in one hit, Mr Mayor.
I'll seek the support of your seconder if he's happy with that. Councillor Cook.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
You're happy? Okay. Carry on, Councillor Kelly.
Mr Mayor, I'll speak to the amendment.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillors, I think when we looked at number 2 and the plan, at the very beginning of the consultation that occurred with the neighbourhood, it was the neighbour next door who didn't have an objection, so to speak, but was saying, well, can you move that driveway away from my boundary fence? And that was to prevent cars coming in right on the boundary, and obviously there may be in the morning a little bit of doof coming out of the car, or somebody might absolutely put their foot down on the accelerator and create a little bit of noise, so that the separation distance from their fence line was simply a matter of their amenity. And the neighbours, my understanding is, were quite happy with that straight driveway to get it away from there. So I think that that's a negotiated outcome. Other than that, there was nobody else in the neighbourhood, or nobody that we've heard of, that had any objection to the drive-through as such. So by moving the driveway, we've satisfied that consultation with the neighbour, and I think that's a satisfactory outcome. The second part of it, number 4, I think quite rightly, if you were looking at a neighbourhood centre or an area of activity such as the Homemaker Centre, or perhaps even the Plaza, we would be looking at a draft activity centre plan, because they are major developments, they are big scale. This is a deli, and I understand there's only 3 delis left in the city now, Mr Mayor, of that description. I think that to ask for an activity centre plan for something of that scale is not necessary at all. I think if I could use the gentle word, it's a bit overkill on that size. However, we do wish to retain it as a note. It's not a condition of the development. So on the basis of consultation and sense and sensibility, Mr Mayor, I ask that councillors will support the amendment to Part 2 and the dropping of 4 to notes and the re-numbering from 5 through to whatever that last number was, Mr Mayor, 24, I think. Yep. So it'll be, the last one will be 23 now. So the amendment, Mr Mayor, I put to councillors to support.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly. Councillor Cook. Does anyone wish to speak against this? Okay. I'll put it. All in favour? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. We move to 10.4.2 and I invite Fiona Davison to come forward. Fiona.
Right, Mr Mayor, can I just a bit of a point of order? I think that was just the amendment. I think perhaps
it's fine because I invited Councillor Cook to agree to your incorporating the amendment in your initial motion. He agreed to that.
You're on the ball, Swear, after your trip.
Operating on all 12. Welcome along.
Good evening, Mr Mayor, councillors. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak today. I'm actually an owner-occupier of the adjoining property that you have on your agenda, page 38. I'll be speaking against the Officer of Recommendation for the item of 10.4.2. Originally, I received a letter in the mail from the City of Bunbury in regards to an outbuilding garage wall height. The proposed wall height to the outbuilding garage was 3.4 high and is a boundary parapet wall. The residential design code specifies a maximum wall height of 2.4 metres for an outbuilding and allows a maximum wall height of 3 metres for a boundary parapet wall. So I'm speaking against the increased height of the adjoining property wall. One of the things that I thought about in regards to being an owner-occupier and living next door to the adjoining property is the loss of daylight and sunlight hours. I'm actually surrounded by concrete. I live in a unit. There's not a lot of background or backyard area. There's concrete walls all around the area. I'm concerned about the sunlight coming through, increasing the wall height as well, particularly during the winter months as well, because you get a lot of dampness, a lot of algae, sort of mould growing as well. So I'm thinking about the sunlight coming through and increasing the wall and the overshadowing in regards to that as well. So that was one point I had. Another point I had was detracting from the ambience of the backyard, which will compromise the visual amenity as well. I feel that it will look unsightly. It will look more like a concrete jungle than what it is at the moment, because the backyard unit is actually encompassed by walls and paving in regards to that. So the backyard will look small and closed in. Another point I had was the intended use of the developmental approval. Is it a garage or a workshop? I'm confused, I'm not sure. In one letter I got, it's saying a garage workshop. In another letter I've got, stated on the 2nd of November, it has proposed outbuilding garage to the group dwelling. I'm concerned also if it is a workshop, what is it going to occur in that workshop? Is there going to be any noise associated with the implementation of a workshop? And I understand that the City of Bunbury has procedures and protocols in regards to noise and so on that you can actually contact you. But I'm actually concerned workshop, what is actually going to be happening in regards to that as well. Another point I had was the appearance of the wall due to the increased height. If the wall is increased, what happens to the wall that's on my property, on the backyard area that I have? Will that be painted? Will that be rendered? Will it just be the concrete? I'm concerned about that as well. And finally, it doesn't comply with the residential code as said in the letter. So why have a design codes when you can apply for developmental approval? So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Before I seek a move on this recommendation, CEO, can I ask through you to our planning officer in attendance whether this development does comply, as proposed, does comply with our town planning scheme and the development guidelines? Mr. Farnsworth?
Your Worship, the proposal doesn't comply with the deemed to comply, so automatically the 2.4, which would be delegated decision of us. Because it's above that, we have to rely upon performance criteria. So it's still approvable as we've recommended. It's just that we accept it's higher. But it's not as high as the proponent wanted originally. So we're looking for a compromise.
And that height is 3 metres now.
That is correct, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Someone prepared to move this?
Can I just ask a quick question? Can I ask
Hayward.
another question? I'm just wondering if you could just make clear for us as well the difference between what is allowed and the proposed height. So we're talking 20 centimetres now, is that correct? Or what's the...
Through me, Councillor Hayward. Sorry.
Sorry, yes. Just wondering what the difference is.
Yeah. Mr Farnsworth.
To the Chair. So the 2.4 and the local planning policy does allow for increased height. So we're taking up to 3 metres. We're only talking about approximately 40 centimetres or so variation, but it also have to accept the fact that the two levels of the properties are quite different. So a lot of the bulk and scale is unavoidable because the property with the new outbuilding, and it's an outbuilding, not a workshop, under the residential zone codes. So it's just for the parking of vehicles and, or in this case, a caravan. So the perception is it's going to be significantly higher, but 3 metres is well below the heights we've been going to, let's say 3.2, 3.3 in other cases. So it's quite a reasonable height.
Thank you. Any further questions before... Okay, someone prepared to move this? Councillor Jones. Thank you. Councillor Cook. Councillor Jones. Thank you. Councillor Cook. Anyone wish to speak against this? Councillor Stick.
So can I just ask a
Question? Sure.
Yes, sure. Sorry. Just in the diagrams provided, there seems to be, like this part here, which is on the right-hand side of the bottom, I thought that after 2.4 or 2.6 from memory, that it needed to be permeable if you were going to increase the height.
The wall height to be permeable. All
yes.
right, I'll just see. Through the CEO, can I, Mr Farnsworth, did you hear that question? Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. The permeability question comes in when you're talking about boundary fences, but for actual structures or wall structures like garages, it's unavoidable to construct them on the boundary. So in that case, we wouldn't expect any permeability, such as a window or any highlight windows or anything like that, because we want to preserve privacy within the adjoining property.
Thank you. Any further questions? Is there anyone prepared wants to speak against this?
Well, I was, sorry, sir. Just looking at the diagrams that we have here in front of us, it's very clear that even though there is a structural wall and a requirement for the structural wall, it's clearly the extension of that structural wall is not required as a structure per se to hold the building together. And if it's a firewall, well, that wouldn't be fire rated anyway, because a firewall needs to have steel bracings, because in case of fire, concrete falls apart. So I just don't believe that this is actually a necessary component of the development.
Speaker 4, Councillor Jones. Okay, guys, I'll put it all in favour. Those against? 1. That's carried. Thank you. Councillors, thank you very much for your attendance. I declare the meeting closed at 5:53. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attendance, and thank you to the officers.